Let's face it, understanding women can feel like trying to read a book written in a language no one ever taught you. One moment, she's laughing at your jokes. The next, she's distant and cold. It's confusing. But what if the problem isn't what you're doing wrong, but what you're not seeing? Beneath confidence, independence, and strength, many women carry hidden emotional vulnerabilities, soft spots they rarely speak of, but deeply feel. These aren't weaknesses in the negative sense. They're deeply human experiences. And the man who recognizes them, respects them, and responds with strength and sensitivity, that man doesn't just win her attention. He earns her trust, loyalty, and love. In this video, we'll uncover 10 of those subtle, hidden weaknesses that every man needs to understand. Starting now. Chapter 1. The fear of not being enough. She walks into the room with confidence. Her makeup is flawless, her posture straight, her smile captivating. To everyone else, she seems untouchable, strong, successful, independent. But what you don't see is the silent, constant voice in the back of her mind whispering, "You're not enough." This fear, this hidden vulnerability, is far more common than most men realize. And it's not just about physical appearance. It runs deeper. It's about worthiness, about value, about feeling like no matter what she does, someone else is always smarter, prettier, more accomplished, more desired. From a young age, women are bombarded with messages that they must be more to be loved, more attractive, more nurturing, more independent, more emotionally stable, more everything. It's a never-ending race toward an imaginary finish line. And the worst part? The finish line keeps moving. And this creates an internal pressure cooker that many women never openly talk about. She might act like she's got it all figured out. She might smile when her friend gets engaged, even though she feels behind in life. She might laugh off compliments while secretly wondering if you really mean them. She might overachieve not out of passion, but out of the fear that being ordinary makes her unlovable. And here's where you, as a man, come in. Most men think they need to impress a woman. Flashy cars, fancy clothes, perfect lines. But the truth is, what many women truly desire is a man who sees them beyond the surface. A man who acknowledges the effort she puts into everything, without making it about her looks. A man who notices how she supports her friends, handles pressure, or lights up when talking about something she loves. These moments of recognition speak volumes to her internal fear. You don't fight this fear by trying to fix her. You calm it by being present, by validating who she is, not just what she does. When she says, "I feel like I'm not doing enough," don't dismiss it. Look her in the eyes and say, "You're more than enough for me." And mean it. Because when a woman feels seen, not just looked at, not judged, not compared, but truly seen, something incredible happens. Her walls come down, her heart opens up, and she begins to feel safe in a world where she's constantly told she has to compete to be loved. This hidden fear, the fear of not being enough, isn't weakness in the way most people think. It's an emotional scar from a lifetime of unrealistic expectations. But the man who knows how to gently touch that scar, with understanding, not pity, becomes unforgettable. Because when a woman feels like she's finally enough in your presence, you don't just win her admiration, you earn her trust, her vulnerability, and a place in her life that no other man has ever reached. Fire Chapter 2. The Craving for Safety. She may never say it out loud. In fact, she might act like she doesn't need anyone. She has her own job, her own place, her own life. She might laugh off danger, stand tall in conflict, and carry herself like a queen. But deep beneath the surface, there's one craving that runs through almost every woman. The craving for safety. Not just physical safety, though that matters more than most men realize, but emotional safety. Psychological safety. The kind of security that makes her feel like she doesn't have to wear armor all the time. Because the truth is, the world expects women to be both soft and strong, to care and compete, to nurture and dominate. And it's exhausting. Every day, she walks through a world that judges her for being too quiet or too loud, too confident or too shy, too sexy or not sexy enough. She faces pressure at work, pressure in her relationships, pressure from her own mind. And the worst part? She rarely gets to let her guard down. That's where the right man comes in. A high-value man isn't just someone who pays the bills or opens doors. He's someone who makes her feel safe in his presence. Safe to speak her mind. Safe to cry. Safe to be vulnerable. Safe to be herself. And that kind of man? Rare. You see, safety doesn't come from dominance. It comes from stability. When you say you'll call, and you do. When you listen without interrupting. When you hold space for her emotions without trying to fix them. When you stay calm while she storms. These are the quiet acts that build trust in her subconscious. It's not about grand gestures. It's about consistent energy. A woman might have been in past relationships where she had to walk on eggshells, where raising a concern turned into a fight, where her emotions were weaponized against her. So now, every new man she meets goes through an invisible test. Can I be safe with him? She watches your tone when you're angry. She observes how you talk about other women. She pays attention when you're interrupted, when you're challenged, when life doesn't go your way. Not because she's judging you, but because her nervous system is reading you. Not consciously, instinctively. If you make her feel like she can express herself without backlash, that she won't be mocked for her fears, that you can handle her complexity without flinching, she will begin to relax around you. And that is the magic. Because when a woman feels safe, she becomes radiant. She's playful, affectionate, open, passionate. She doesn't have to protect herself. Because you're already doing it for her. And no, it's not about being soft or always agreeing. You can still be firm. Have boundaries. Be masculine. But do it with emotional intelligence. With presence, with kindness, because true masculinity doesn't intimidate, it protects. In a world that tells her to be tough, cold, and guarded, the man who gives her a space to be warm, honest, and human becomes unforgettable. And if you can be that man, the one who doesn't just want her body, but guards her heart, you won't just attract her. You'll become the one she trusts when everything else falls apart. Chapter 3. The Power of Being Understood. She's talking. But are you really listening? Not just nodding. Not just waiting for your turn to speak. But actually hearing her. Understanding her. Feeling what she's trying to express. Even if the words aren't perfect. Because for many women, one of their deepest emotional needs, and most hidden vulnerabilities, is the fear of not being understood. It's not just about what she's saying. It's about what she's trying to say. The emotion under the words. The story behind the reaction. And when she shares something with you, even something small, what she's really asking is, do you get me? Can you see me? Not just on the surface, but for who I really am underneath it all. This isn't about agreeing with everything she says. In fact, she doesn't need agreement as much as she needs connection. When she's venting about her boss, her friends, her anxiety, she's not always looking for solutions. She's looking for resonance. Someone who can sit in the discomfort with her and say, yeah, I can see why that would make you feel that way. But most men are trained to fix, to find logic in the problem, and offer an answer. It comes from a good place, but often, it shuts her down, because what she really wants is presence, not precision. Validation, not correction. When you jump to logic before emotion, she doesn't feel helped. She feels dismissed. Here's a truth most men never realize. When a woman says, "You don't understand me," she's not being dramatic. She's revealing that one of her deepest needs isn't being met. And when that happens too often, she emotionally checks out. Because understanding isn't just about words. It's about empathy. It's about being attuned to her energy, recognizing the shift in her tone, picking up on the silence between her texts, sensing when her smile is covering something up. These are the invisible ways you show her, I know you. I care enough to notice. And when she does open up, when she's raw, emotional, unfiltered, that's not weakness. That's a test. She's giving you the chance to step in and understand her world, the way she feels it. The man who handles this moment with patience, without judgment, becomes a safe space in a way no surface-level charm ever could. Sometimes it's as simple as this. That sounds really tough. Want to talk more about it? Or even, help me understand how you're feeling. I want to get this right. Those words, they're not magic lines. They're emotional keys. They unlock parts of her that most people never get to see. Because most people don't try to understand. They try to react, reply, redirect. But you're different. Because you know that women, like all humans, want to be known. Not just loved, known. And the more you understand her, the more she opens up. The more she opens up, the deeper your connection gets. And before you know it, you're not just a man in her life. You become home. So the next time she's expressing something that doesn't make sense to you, pause. Ask. Listen. Dig deeper. Because when a woman feels truly understood, she won't just love you, she'll trust you. And in the end, trust is the gateway to everything real. Chapter 4. Her battle with comparison. She scrolls through her feed. Another girl with flawless skin, the perfect body, the dream vacation, the fairy tale proposal. A soft sigh escapes her lips. It's not jealousy, not exactly. It's that creeping feeling again. Am I falling behind? This is one of the most silent and dangerous emotional traps women face daily. The battle with comparison. And what makes it so powerful is how invisible it is. She may never say it out loud. She may even laugh it off, pretending none of it affects her. But deep inside, that quiet voice whispers, she's prettier than you. She's happier than you. She's more successful, more loved, more desirable. It's not just about beauty. It's about worth. Because in a world saturated with filters, highlight reels, and endless competition, women are constantly measuring themselves against impossible standards. And most men have no idea how much of a toll that takes. Even the most confident, high-achieving woman has moments where she questions her value. She wonders if she's enough. If she's attractive enough, smart enough, accomplished enough. If she's seen. And those doubts aren't born from weakness. They're born from a culture that profits off her insecurity. Here's what many men miss. This battle with comparison isn't just external. It's internal. It's emotional. And it affects how she sees herself in the relationship too. If she sees you liking another girl's photo, even innocently, she might feel that quiet sting. Is she what he really wants? If you compliment someone else's success, she might quietly wonder, am I impressive to him? This doesn't mean you should walk on eggshells. It means you need to be aware. Because the man who can reassure her without her having to ask is the man who wins her trust. The antidote to comparison isn't constant compliments. It's recognition. Genuine, specific, intentional recognition. Noticing the things she doubts in herself and affirming them in real, grounded ways. Not, you're beautiful, but the way your eyes light up when you talk about your goals? That's incredible. Not, you're amazing, but I love how thoughtful you are with people. It shows me who you really are. That kind of recognition? It cuts through the noise. It silences the inner critic. It reminds her, I don't need to be like her. I'm already enough for him. Comparison is a war she often fights alone. But the man who steps beside her, not to save her, but to remind her of her value, is a rare kind of partner. He doesn't compete with the world. He helps her rise above it. And when you do that, something shifts. She begins to stop comparing. She starts owning her beauty, her power, her presence. And she'll associate that transformation with you, not because you made her who she is, but because you reminded her of what she always was. She just needed someone to see it before she could believe it. Chapter 5. The Pain of Feeling Replaced. There's a look she gives when she sees your attention drift, even just for a moment. Maybe you didn't notice. Maybe you were just scrolling, looking at something harmless. But she did notice. Not just the action, but the shift, the silent whisper that haunts more women than you'd ever guess. Am I being replaced? This is one of the most hidden emotional wounds many women carry. And it runs deep, because at some point in her life, whether in childhood, friendships, or past relationships, she's felt the sting of being chosen, and then forgotten. Wanted for a while, adored for a moment, and then suddenly, not enough. Maybe an ex moved on faster than expected. Maybe a best friend grew distant. Maybe a father figure disappeared. And now, even when everything seems fine, there's a quiet, unspoken fear underneath her strength. How long until he gets tired of me too? The pain of feeling replaceable isn't about ego. It's about security, about knowing that she's not just someone for now, but someone you truly value. When a woman loves deeply, she gives her heart fully. And with that comes the silent hope that she's not just filling a space until something better comes along. And in today's world of endless options, swipes, and quick connections, that fear only grows stronger. She might not say anything when you mention your ex, or when you comment on a celebrity, or when you laugh a little too hard at another woman's joke. But she feels it. It's not about control or insecurity. It's about connection, about wondering, do I still hold his eyes, his heart, his attention? As a man, it's easy to miss how fragile that sense of being irreplaceable can be. Not because she's weak, but because she cares. And the more she cares, the more she fears being left behind. But here's the good news. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. Make her feel chosen, again and again. Not just once when you asked her out, or when you said, I love you, but in the little moments. In the way you listen to her stories, the way you light up when she walks in, the way you still flirt with her like you did on day one. Let her know, consistently, that she's not just someone you're with. She's someone you choose every day. Say things like, I still can't believe you're mine. There's no one like you. No one. I don't want anyone else. I want you. It might seem small, but to her, it's everything, because when a woman feels irreplaceable, she blooms. She becomes more confident, more loving, more present. And all it took was one thing, certainty. The pain of feeling replaced doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you forget to show. But the man who shows up, stays steady, and makes her feel like the only woman in the room, he becomes the one she'll never let go of. Chapter 6. Her Secret Emotional Exhaustion. She smiles. She jokes. She gives. She listens. She encourages. She keeps everyone's world spinning. Friends, family, co-workers, even you. And yet, no one notices how tired she really is. Because most women walk through life carrying an invisible burden. Emotional exhaustion. Not the kind that sleep fixes. The kind that builds slowly, quietly, as she tries to hold everything together. She's the one people go to when they need comfort. The one who remembers birthdays, checks in on others, smooths over conflict, and shows up even when she's breaking inside. And why? Because she was taught that her value is in how well she cares. But here's the part few understand. Being the emotional backbone for everyone else often means there's no one being that for her. She bottles up stress because she doesn't want to seem too much. She hides her breakdowns because she doesn't want to be dramatic. She pushes through anxiety, heartbreak, exhaustion, just to make it through the day with a smile. It's not weakness. It's survival. And this secret exhaustion doesn't just come from responsibilities. It comes from constantly regulating her emotions in a world that tells her she's either too sensitive or too cold, too emotional or too distant, too soft or too strong. There's no winning, and that too wears her down. She may not ask for help, not because she doesn't need it, but because she's been let down too many times. Or worse, made to feel like needing help is something to be ashamed of. So she becomes her own safe space, and silently hopes someone, someday, will see through the mask. And this is where a man can either add to her weight or lift it. You don't have to fix her exhaustion. You just need to acknowledge it. Ask how she's doing, not just casually but really. Let her speak freely, without cutting her off. Give her room to breathe when she's overwhelmed. Offer to take things off her plate. Not to be a hero, but to be a partner. Most importantly, be her peace. Don't be another source of pressure, chaos, or emotional confusion. Let her rest in your presence. Be consistent. Be kind. Be reliable. The smallest gestures, a forehead kiss, a long hug, a genuine, "I've got you today," can recharge her more than you realize. Because emotional exhaustion doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes, it looks like her still showing up, even when her soul is running on empty. But when you become the man who gives her space to let go, to not be perfect, to just be, you become more than her lover. You become her home. And she will never forget the man who didn't just love her at her best, but held her gently at her most tired. Fire Chapter 7. Her need to feel chosen daily. You told her you loved her. Maybe months ago, maybe years. You chose her once, maybe when you asked her out, or when you said, "I do." You gave her that title, girlfriend, partner, wife. But here's the truth that most men overlook. Being chosen once isn't enough. Because one of the most deeply buried emotional needs in a woman's heart is this: to feel chosen every single day. Not just with words, not just with a label, but with actions, with presence, with consistent, intentional moments that whisper, "It's still you. It's always been you." You see, men often assume that once a woman is theirs, the job is done. The chase is over. The prize is won. But women don't think in terms of conquest. They think in terms of connection. And connection isn't something you earn once and then coast on forever. It's something you renew, like a promise, like a heartbeat. And when that feeling fades, when you stop showing interest, stop initiating, stop noticing the little things, she doesn't just feel neglected. She feels forgotten, taken for granted, like she's fading into the background of a life she used to be at the center of. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when her laughter softens, her eyes dim, her energy pulls back. Not because she's changed, but because she's unsure if you still see her, still want her. Understand this. It's not about grand gestures. It's about small, daily reminders. The way you look at her when she walks into the room. The way you touch her waist in passing. The random, just thinking of you texts. The surprise coffee. The warm, "How was your day?" That actually means something. You don't need to be a poet or a mind reader. You just need to be present. Notice when she changes her hair. Compliment her when she's not dressed up. Listen when she talks about her dreams, her fears, her day, even if she's told the story before. Because to her, those little things are big. They're proof. Proof that you're still in it. Still tuned in. Still choosing her. Even when life gets busy. Especially when life gets busy. And here's the beauty of it. When a woman feels chosen daily, she glows differently. She becomes more open, more affectionate, more grounded in the relationship. She feels safe, secure, seen, and from that space, she gives back with her full heart, loyally, passionately, endlessly. So ask yourself, when was the last time you really made her feel chosen? Not out of guilt, not out of routine, but out of love, out of desire, out of intention. Because the woman who feels chosen doesn't need to search for validation elsewhere. She doesn't have to question her place in your life. She knows, deep in her bones, that she's still the one. And the man who reminds her of that, not just once, but over and over again, becomes the kind of man she'll never stop choosing back. Fire Chapter 8. Her struggle with self-worth. She looks strong, independent, confident. Maybe she walks with her head held high, speaks with clarity, and makes decisions like she owns the world. But here's what most never see. Even the strongest women question their worth when no one's watching. Because self-worth isn't a mask she wears. It's a battle she fights quietly daily. The truth is, many women grow up in a world that subtly, and sometimes brutally, tells them they're not quite enough. Not pretty enough. Not thin enough. Not successful, feminine, soft, bold, maternal, sexual, whatever enough. And these messages don't always come loudly. They arrive in whispers, in comparisons, in backhanded compliments, in silent rejections. Over time, those whispers become internal voices. And even as she builds a career, starts a family, finds love, or steps into leadership, there's still a part of her that wonders, am I really worthy of this? Or will they eventually see that I'm not as good as they think? This is the hidden truth behind so many moments. The hesitation before posting a photo. The nervous laughter after receiving praise. The way she brushes off compliments like they don't matter. When they do. When she says, I'm fine, sometimes what she means is, I'm holding myself together with everything I've got. And here's what you need to understand. Your role as a man isn't to fix her self-worth. It's not your job to rebuild what life has chipped away. But you do play a powerful role in how safe she feels to embrace who she really is. When you see her, even the parts she hides, and you stay, she heals. When you celebrate her, not just for how she looks, but for who she is, she softens. When you remind her that she's more than enough, even on her worst days, she starts to believe it again. And it's not just in big, dramatic moments. It's in how you speak to her when she's doubting herself. It's in the way you look at her when she's in sweatpants, hair messy, heart heavy, and you still say, you're incredible. It's also in how you model self-worth yourself. When you walk in your purpose, when you treat others with respect, when you hold your own boundaries, you show her, without words, what it means to believe in your value. And in doing that, you give her permission to do the same. Women don't need perfect men. They need present men, honest men. Men who stand steady when she's shaky, who don't flinch when she's raw, or insecure, or vulnerable, who gently remind her of her value, especially when she's forgotten it herself. Because when a woman feels worthy, not for what she does, but for who she is, she becomes unstoppable. And the man who helps her see that, he becomes unforgettable. Fire Chapter 9. Her desire for emotional safety. She can handle a lot. Pressure, stress, setbacks. She's been through storms you'll never fully see. Picked herself up more times than she can count. But no matter how independent she is, how emotionally mature she's grown, there's one thing she craves more than almost anything else: emotional safety. Not just love, not just affection, safety. Because love without safety can feel like a risk. Affection without consistency can feel like a tease. And commitment without presence? That can feel like loneliness wrapped in a promise. Emotional safety is different. It's not just about being physically there. It's about being emotionally available. It's about showing her that her heart is safe in your hands, that she can open up, reveal her fears, her past, her insecurities, without being judged, shamed, or dismissed. Here's what most people miss. A woman's deepest thoughts, the ones she rarely shares, aren't hidden because she doesn't trust you. They're hidden because the world has taught her that most people won't know what to do with them. She's been vulnerable before, and it cost her. She's opened up and been ignored or worse, used. So now, even in love, there's a test. Can I trust him with this part of me? And here's the magic. When a woman realizes that she can be completely herself around you, raw, messy, unfiltered, and you still stay, still listen, still love her in that space, that's when she melts. That's when the walls fall. That's when she blooms. But it doesn't happen overnight. She notices the way you react when she cries. She watches how you handle your own emotions. She sees whether you listen to understand or just to respond. She pays attention to whether you hold space for her or make everything about you. And these moments, these tiny decisions, they either build emotional safety or they chip it away. So how do you give her that safety? Be consistent with your energy. Don't be warm one day and cold the next. Don't weaponize her vulnerability. If she opens up to you, guard it like gold. Validate her feelings, even if you don't fully understand them. Speak with softness, even when you're angry. Control doesn't equal power. Presence does. Let her be human. Don't demand perfection when you haven't offered it yourself. The truth is, a woman in survival mode will always question love. But a woman in safety mode? She thrives. She glows. She expands. She becomes more affectionate, more confident, more emotionally available herself. Because when she feels safe, really safe, she's not protecting herself anymore. She's free to love you with her full, unguarded heart. And the man who gives her that freedom, he's not just a partner. He becomes her sanctuary. Chapter 10. Her silent craving for deep understanding. She doesn't always say it. In fact, most of the time she won't. But every woman carries a quiet, aching desire, sometimes hidden even from herself, to be deeply, truly understood. Not just heard, not just tolerated, but seen. Beneath the layers, behind the mood swings, past the words she struggles to find. Because the truth is, for most of her life, she's been misunderstood. Labeled as too sensitive, too emotional, too complex. Told to calm down when she was just passionate. Told to let it go when something really mattered. Told that her feelings were an overreaction, when they were actually a signal that she needed care, not correction. And after years of this, she starts to withdraw. Not physically, but emotionally. She stops explaining herself. Stops expressing what she truly wants. Not because she doesn't feel, but because she's tired of explaining it to people who don't listen. That's why deep understanding isn't just attractive to her. It's sacred. It's healing. It tells her, you don't have to shrink to be loved here. I see all of you, and I still choose you. So what does understanding her really look like? It means learning the language of her emotions, not just her words. It means paying attention to the sighs, the silences, the energy behind her smile. It means not jumping to fix her pain, but being with her in it. It's remembering what she says, even in passing. Noticing patterns in her moods. Being curious, not critical. Asking questions like, what do you need from me right now? Help me understand how that made you feel. What does support look like for you today? Sometimes, understanding her means knowing when to give her space, and when to hold her tighter. When to let her cry without needing a reason. When to just be there, no solutions, no judgment, just presence. Because the woman who feels deeply understood, she doesn't just relax into the relationship. She expands in it. She starts to reveal the parts of her soul that even she didn't know how to express before. She becomes more open, more connected, more confident in you. And all because you didn't just love her body, or her smile, or her loyalty. You loved her mind, her heart, her essence. Most men seek to impress women. Few take the time to understand them. But the man who does, who leans in, listens deeply, studies her like she's a universe worth knowing, he becomes unforgettable. And she gives him a kind of love that's not just rare, it's eternal.